Happy Monday, everybody. Sun is out. Fantastic. Um, Quick shout out to my friend Lori, who owns Lux Lab in Glencoe, who personally delivered my shirt, which you can't see because the sun has got a super cute, super rainbow skull on it. Today we are going back to what seems like forever ago, but we're going back to all legs. Don't need a lot of stuff, a couple of towels, maybe a dumbbell. Enough work even without any extra weight. So first exercise we're going to do is a variation on a single leg deadlift. I'm really liking this variation because it lets you work on that single leg deadlift without and still be able to keep that kind of flat back without that rotation through the hips and shoulders, which we sometimes get if we're just focusing on trying to balance on one leg. So that is a viable option. If you don't want to do the sliding version, right, you can just do a conventional single leg deadlift. But this way, you're really able to get that focus on the posterior side of that standing leg without all the wobble of the imbalance and still managing to keep those hips even, ideally. All right, so we're going to hold the dumbbell contralaterally, right? You can do it same side, ipsilaterally. Let's say we're going to go contralateral. Changes the focus, sort of where on the hamstring there's more sensation. So you can play around and see which one is harder and maybe do that variation for you. So slight bend in the knee, and it's a hip hinge, right? Not a squat. So you're going to hinge the hips back. Weight's going to slide down, squeeze up. So slight bend in the knee, hinging forward. Whole time, keeping the shoulders pinched back. Going to keep the shoulders even. And when you get back up to the top, squeeze that glute up and under, engage that quad. Hinge back, squeeze up, slight bend, all hinge. Like you're just reading those glutes back behind you, right? Sometimes the cue, you try to shoot your butt back to like close the car door. So slight bend, hinge, squeeze up. These add up pretty fast. And for those of you like me that had that hamstring injury sort of up high, where that hamstring connects up onto that pubic bone, then really good one to start to build some strength back in that individual side. So second side, same thing, slight bend in the knee, hip hinge, leg just slides back, squeeze up. Even the shoulders pinch back and down. Head just neutral, so gaze just a little bit in front of you. Try not to crane the neck out or in, squeeze back. Right, don't worry about how far or not far you're going back, right? Everybody's got their own sort of range of motion on this one. So you find the one that is right for you. So I would say, depending on whether you're using weight, 10 to 12 on each side, you should start to feel the burn build up pretty good in that glute and kind of upper hamstring. Second exercise we're going to do is a variation on a forward lunge. A little bit different focus because we're using the slider, so you're not going to feel this as much quad. You'll feel it in both legs, the standing leg and the sliding leg. So this time we're going to hold the dumbbell if you're going to use weight. And it's squeezed at your chest, right? So not just kind of passively hanging out of your chest, right? If you squeeze into the sides, you can feel those shoulder blades connect and engage behind you. So keep that squeeze, like keep pushing into the sides, whether using a dumbbell, med ball, whatever you happen to be using. Slight bend, again, in that back leg as you reach forward. Ooh. Come down, pause to the bottom, slide back up. Forward, dip down, pause at the bottom, slide back up. Try and keep that core braced and rigid. So lock in the belly, slide, dip, hold, slide back in. Again, 8 to 10 per side. A little bit easier on the knees. a little bit easier on the knees because you're not landing forward and waiting, right? You're not landing on that front foot. But again, if you have knee stuff, you may want to be just a little bit careful, especially watching how that front knee bends, right? Not letting that knee collapse into the midline, right? Making sure that knee stays very gently out over that second, third toe. So second side, same thing, sliding forward, dipping down, pulling back in, keeping this squeezed. Sometimes I forget to add the pause. That's all right when you remember. Just get back. It'll force everything to kind of kick in. And if you forgot to squeeze the edges of your dumbbells, once you get back to that front position, you can re-squeeze in, re-tighten that core before you pull back again. You're going to want to keep this super tight, especially on the pull back, so you don't feel like your lower back arching too much, right? It's going to be very easy to want to use kind of that arch to pull yourself back in instead of using your legs. All right. So third exercise, we're going to go hamstring curl. This is a pretty, okay, for me personally, this is a pretty advanced version of a hamstring curl. Again, because of that kind of previous injury. For some of you, this is going to seem like no big deal. I'm going to do both legs and then show you guys a modification. So I'm still going to use two separate slides. This is my work. My legs have to work separately. You could use one slide and make it a little bit easier, or one towel, make it a little bit easier. You can also, use a ball like we've done in the past. So the first version is I'm going to do 2 feet. We're going to get our shoulders grounded and down. So we've got good engagement of the shoulder blades. I'm going to squeeze air into my front and back to keep a nice rigid core. My heels are going to slide out. I'm going to re-brace and pull back in. So some of you may be able to get super straight legs without the hips dipping down too much before you pull back in. Some of this will depend on your hamstring strength. It's, for me personally, it's way more burny than some of the other variations. So again, on one towel, the feet will not, you'll be able to compensate a little bit more with your stronger leg. But if you're doing it individually, you can even do a single leg variation of this, but that's super advanced and my personal hamstring won't do that. So the other variation you can do, if this is really challenging, but you want to work on it, you can go all the way out, lower down, come back in, right? And then just work slowly on the way out. Again, you want to keep the core braced front and back as you reach out. A little bit different than how we might do it on a lot more need to keep this rigid because of the angles than when we do it on the wall. All right, so that's the hamstring curl. Last but not least, oh no, sorry, we're going to do 2 more. We're going to do a variation on the reverse lunge now. So this time, I'm going to hold the weight ipsilaterally or on the same side. I'm going to hold her at shoulder height. If this is too, this is probably the harder of the version, holding it at shoulder height, kind of in that front position, right? But you could hold it down. You can hold it in the other side. Again, lots of variations. All right, so plant the foot, slight bend to the knee to start, core braced, reach that foot back, take a dip, hold, pull back up. So it takes a different set of muscles to pull the leg from the back as it does from the front. You really feel this in the back of that front leg. And again, once you get back up to the top, you're still squeezing that glute under, raising that quad. So same thing, second side. Again, so 8 to 10 per side, especially since we've got a fair amount of single leg work here. You may be getting a little fatigued, so you be the judge of what's the right number. you don't have weight, you may be able to get a little bit more. Try and hold that back position if you can before you squeeze back in. All right, and so I would be remiss if we didn't go at least a little bit sideways, since we don't do too much of that. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use the slider, go sideways. I'm going to squeeze the weight in again because I like the engagement of the upper back. And as I slide out, my hips are going to hinge back. So it's not just like a stepping out. The hips really have to hinge too. So working on that hip hinge again. So squeezing the weight in at the chest. No movement here. So knee bends, knee keeps bending, hips keep reaching back, pulling up. You want to stay pretty light on this sliding foot. And as you're pulling back in, think about pulling with this inner leg line. And really think about how you're grounding that foot down into the ground. So same thing, second side. And again, if this is not the exercise for you to work laterally, then you can do that sideways bend look. You could do a lateral lunge. You find one that works well for you to go side to side. And that is it. Actually 5 exercises today, guys. So enjoy. Have a great day, everybody. And tomorrow, all upper. Take care.